tapeworms, fatal infestation, or diet sensation. I'm Kevin Leeson.
What parasite does the Daily Show's Jon Stewart want to infect you with? I'm Joe Foljam.
What is the secret ingredient in snail slime that can control an ant's mind? I'm Toren Atkinson. Answers to these questions and many more on tonight's episode of Caustic Soda, the podcast. Bam! Here we are again. Caustic Soda, the podcast. I'm Toren.
This is Kevin.
This is Joe.
And tonight we're talking about parasites, the lovely, the fabulous, the little wriggly things.
And might I just add, Toren?
You can add that. It's added.
Ew.
Follow up from the last episode, which was about shark attacks. Ann O'Malley sent us an email wanting to tip us off to the painting, the oil painting, Watson and the Shark. This was a painting created in 1778, based on a real shark attack from 1749.
Have
Have you seen this? Have you seen this
I have
one?
not seen it, but I love how they make, back in the old-timey days, that your artistic portrayals of shark attacks took 29 years to come to fruition.
Well, sometimes, the technology was a little bit different.
I wonder if the artist took 29 years to paint it, or if they didn't even start it for like 27 years.
It was actually a series of 3 paintings, so that may have had something to do with it.
9 years each.
Yeah, that's right. So
That's Chris Woodsian in its speed.
So it was Brooke Watson, some 14-year-old orphan who was attacked by a shark. The shark bit off his foot. His entire leg was eventually amputated, and he was immortalized in paintings. We should all be so lucky.
They sure like to amputate stuff back in those days.
Now, he ended up doing pretty well for himself, though, despite that, right?
I don't know. He got into painting. That's something.
Did he become a professional surfer?
He might have.
He became Lord Mayor of London.
Oh, that's right. He did become Lord Mayor of London.
Wow, you guys have both read this article, and I have not. Lord Mayor of London.
Some of us have to read through viewer mail.
Is that actually different than Mayor of London?
It's more lordly.
Yeah, was there a mayor,
Clearly.
and then the mayor had a lord that he had to answer
Something
to?
like that. Perhaps,
okay.
Perhaps we can get clarification.
So he was
a follow-up to this episode.
That's right.
On the next episode.
No, hold on
find out
one
what
second.
the Lord Mayor of London actually is.
A little. Sorry, I have to ask this again. The orphan whose foot was bitten off and leg later amputated became the Lord Mayor of London, or the person who painted the painting?
No. His leg was amputated. He went on to live a full life. He became Lord Mayor of London for a term, however long a term is, back in those old-timey days.
All right.
Yeah.
I am now duly informed.
Yeah. So thank you, Anne. Keep those emails coming.
I have a follow-up about the mega shark.
We were talking about mega shark.
I was going for my memory and not the internet, as I should do. I said it was that the speed it would require would be 800 miles an hour or so. It was actually just over 700 kilometers per hour, and it would be such an increase in speed that it would actually pull lesser sea mammal or lesser sea entities up into the air with it as it was going up.
Like a blue whale, which is smaller than
Well, that's what the infographic shows, a blue whale and a submarine.
I don't know if a blue whale is smaller than a mega shark.
Well, when we talked about
I think a blue whale is the largest animal that's ever lived.
Well, I don't think the mega shark has ever lived, so it's allowed to be bigger.
It's a megalodon or something like that. It's based on a real...
As a matter of fact, you're wrong. The megalodon was 20 meters in length.
Okay.
The mega shark of the movie was 40 meters in length.
Oh.
Wow.
I sit corrected.
When we were talking about it before and you said 800 miles an hour, I scoffed as an impossibility. But now that it's only 700 kilometers an hour, I'm
It's
like,
a big difference.
low-flying airplanes, watch out for your mega sharks.
That's right.
We also found out how many pints of blood are in a normal adult male.
An adult male has 10 to 12 pints of blood.
So our good friend Henri Bourse lost about half of the blood in his body from that shark attack.
At least, yeah.
So if you haven't listened to that episode, go back.
Yeah, I guess, but he could have been a 10-pinter, which would mean he lost two-thirds.
Almost two-thirds, yeah.
Almost two-thirds.
I'd like to be described by how many pints
He seemed
I've got in
thin.
my...
You would think
Toren
that
Atkinson,
you'd think it'd be big
a
fat people
10-pinter.
with a lot more.
Yeah, I wonder.
Maybe more fat, less blood. Who knows?
What if the size
I'm
of the
not a
person matters how much blood you have, or if there's some people who are
You're just
bloodier.
filling with blood.
Yeah, like you could have
sloshing around in there.
this 105-pound runway model but she's got like
She's just all
13 pints of blood. Right? You think that's possible?
Can hardly stand up.
She sloshes when she walks.
She always looks like she's blushing. Her entire body blushes. It's just full of blood.
So our topic today is related to blood. It's parasites.
And again.
Our pinup today is from giantmicrobes.com. They do stuffed animal versions of microbes, and they also have a parasite section. Today's pinup is of the bedbug, I believe.
Bedbug.
Delightful.
It is. That one doesn't make me go hoo-ha.
My
very cute.
It's kind of flop. Yeah, it's kind of mammalizes the unmammelizable.
My next door neighbor had bedbugs.
Oh.
And
Vancouver is kind of notorious for the bedbug situation.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You haven't heard of this?
No, I haven't.
Really?
Please tell me more.
I know friends who had bed bugs. They had to like burn their entire everything they owned in terms of clothes and stuff like that
Wow.
before they moved.
Yeah, no, there's the process.
It's
you gotta
serious.
you put everything in plastic bags,
Yeah.
then you wash it in extra hot water like 3 times. You put it back in a plastic bag. You fumigate.
This is what happened to your friend.
Your friend.
He was not a friend. He was my next door neighbor.
Oh, okay.
He's a wizened old man who got bed bugs somehow. And I had to have the exterminators come over and search my house to make sure I didn't have to be fumigated too.
Right. Well, yeah. It's
I
serious.
was bed bug free though.
I am mortified. Now
Yeah.
I'm worried about my bed.
Evidently, bed bugs congregate anywhere where people basically sit and don't move for long periods of time.
Bed bugs. They're not just for beds anymore.
Hence bed, but also they find more and more. This is what I got this all from the exterminator as I was bending his ear on bed bugs.
Because you
They're
knew
finding
you were
more
going to
and
do
more
this podcast, and you'd have to.
that they're finding more and more that they're congregating more in the couches,
Right.
and less in the beds because there are so many people who are who sit all day on the couch. That it becomes more attractive to the bed bug.
I'm going to have to search my computer chair because I am sitting in that damn thing all. I work on the computer and then I'm done, so I'll play some video games on the computer. So I'm there
Right.
constantly.
Oh, the bed bugs.
Yeah. Is there any fabric or seams in your computer chair?
It's fabric covered. It's not leather.
Fabric covered.
Maybe I'm going to switch to a leather chair.
And seams. It is a certainly. Were you to get a bedbug infestation, it sounds like your computer chair would be a likely victim.
It's trouble.
I'm feeling queasy.
You're looking queasy.
You're kind of turning green, actually. This is really.
This is disgusting.
That's what we're
I'm
here
guessing,
for.
We've
I'm
only
guessing this
started.
was not a topic of Joe's choice.
Parasites may outnumber free living species 4 to 1.
Well,
Wow.
they're so small, right?
Generally.
Yeah.
Ants have parasites that swim around in their bodily fluids. So
An ant parasite.
Oh yeah.
That is a
They go small.
that is a small parasite.
There's a parasite that wraps itself around a caterpillar's breathing tube, which
I thought
spiracles.
I don't know why, but for 1 second I thought you were going to say a caterpillar's penis. I don't know why. That's what I thought you were going to say. But I was like, I didn't know caterpillars have penises.
I just wonder how many times in the future of this podcast you're going to be thinking penis when somebody's talking about something.
Yeah, could be.
Is it time for me to mention that this is episode 2, season 1, or
Sure,
we're not
you can
supposed to
do
talk
that.
about that any longer?
No, you can mention it.
I love that we
just-
mentioned season 1 as though we're actually thinking we might end up having a second season.
Well, how long's a season? 2 episodes? Done. Season 1 is over.
Or season 1 could be 4,000 episodes long.
That's true. We only have 1 season.
So,
Not the
but
rest of
please
our lives.
continue on your caterpillar non-penis related parasite.
I was just going to go over the basics of parasites, if I may. Parasite, an organism that lives on or in another organism, an organism of another species, at the expense of that organism called the host, from the body of which it obtains nutriment, interchangeable as far
Do we
as
know
I
what the difference is? Nutriment sounds like a fake Futurama word.
David Attenborough uses nutriment. Everyone else uses nutrient.
Oh, so it's an English-American difference, I
Could
guess.
be.
That could be.
It's like sticking a U in the middle of color.
Kind of,
Or
which we do.
Aluminum or aluminium.
Aluminium.
Even though there's no additional I, they just pronounce it differently.
Isn't there?
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, they just say it weird.
Parasite, the word, comes from Greek, para and sitos, which means
Gross
basically
bug.
grain or food, and sharing food, basically.
Para and Sitos, my 2 favorite of the Jackson brothers.
And I think I've got a lot of my information from this fine book, Parasite Rex by Carl Zimmer, which if you're interested in parasites, I advise. I'm only actually halfway through it. I tried and tried.
Is it a fictional work?
No, it's...
Is there a hero?
Carl Zimmer is an excellent science writer. As a matter of fact, I met Carl Zimmer only a few months ago.
Is that right?
Yeah, I went out and had drinks with him, bought him some scotch. He did this excellent presentation on swine flu for us over at BBC.
Did you put a tapeworm in his scotch?
No, I didn't know about Parasite Rex at the time.
Is it a fictional work? Is there a hero? Is this like the Da Vinci Code for parasites?
It might be.
You're halfway through it. Shouldn't you be able to tell me?
Well, he hasn't hit the big reveal.
It's a science book, but it does have a lot of delicious pictures, like this picture of the crustacean inside the fish's mouth, which many of us have seen on the internet. The little crustacean devours a fish's tongue and basically takes its place. The fish can use it to grip and swallow prey.
In the immortal words of Stephen Colbert, that's the craziest fucking thing I've ever heard.
This was featured on the Colbert Report?
Yeah.
Yes, in their section, that's the craziest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Do they beep out the F word?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. But he says it.
Okay. Well, I believe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anyone would say it, he'd be the guy.
No, absolutely. I've seen it portrayed in television and now in printed book format, and it is pretty nutty. So, let me get this straight.
Yeah.
Because you've read the book. It eats a fish's tongue.
Yes.
And then replaces the function.
Basically, yes.
Becomes the fish's tongue.
Yeah.
And just like nips off like a little bit of the fish food for itself
I guess,
on the way through the mouth.
The crumbs or whatever, they're all...
It picks up the crumbs at the table.
It's like a tongue with a mouth.
It's a...
but it looks like a louse.
Right. Wow.
It looks like it's like a kind of...
Yeah, it looks like a bug. It looks...
Thing. Yeah.
It looks like an alien is what it looks like. It's
that is so horrifying.
Every living thing has at least one parasite.
Every living thing.
As far as science knows. I'll tell you about the parrot in Mexico that has 30 different species of mites on its feathers alone. Parasites themselves have parasites, and some of those parasites have parasites. So, it's a rich tapestry.
That's right.
I thought I knew a little bit about parasites.
And it's hard to weave together.
It's true.
I had a friend of mine who was on a safari in Africa.
Yeah.
And he was out on the beach picking up shells because they were like really iridescent.
I totally thought you were going to say out on the beach picking up penises.
So he's picking up shells.
Yeah, no, this was in Africa, not Fire Island. He was picking up shells because he was he was imagining taking them home and making like a shell necklace out of it or something like this.
Like you do.
It was very they're like looked like tiny, like incredibly small hermit crab shells.
Sure.
And as a joke, before he'd gone on his African safari, we bought him a book that I believe the title of was Plagues, Parasites, and Pests.
We'll check on that.
I believe that's the title. It was a 3P title anyway.
Sure.
Parasite was part of the title.
It wasn't Cows, Pigs, Wars, and Witches.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Wasn't The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
No. So after he had filled his pockets with these little shiny iridescent shells, he came across a sign that had something in a foreign language, in an African language, and a skull and crossbones on it. Oh. So decided to flip through this book that we gave him as a joke, which actually informed him.
While he was standing in front of the sign?
While he's standing in front of the sign. And weird. This book informed him that the animal that typically lives in these little shells is a parasite of a most deadly variety, and that were one of these shells to be inhabited and it were to prick him, he would be paralyzed within 15 minutes, and if not given immediate medical attention, would probably perish.
Now, that's not a parasite. Because a parasite can't really live off a dead body.
Okay, I guess it was just a deadly animal.
We'll cut that, put it in the next episode.
But it was found in the book with parasites in the title.
Okay, fair enough. You win again.
There you go. Pulled that one out at the last second. And so immediately emptied his pocket of all these shells because he didn't want to find out if one of them was inhabited or not. Yeah. And ran away as far as he possibly could.
It's stuff like this and parasites that make me want to just throttle anybody who talks about how nature is good.
Right.
Oh, it's natural.
I remember reading in this book actually about Darwin saying that anybody who believes that God is this benevolent creator hasn't read about parasites and figured out how parasites work. Speaking of medicine and Darwin, the rod of Asclepius. You guys know what this is?
That's the symbol that doctors use.
That's the medical symbol.
Oh, right.
It's got a staff
Wait. It wasn't
with a serpent wrapped around it.
I thought that was the caduceus.
There's 2.
Okay.
I think the caduceus has 2 worms and maybe some eagle wings at the top or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But the rod of Asclepius.
How did Hippocrates fit into this?
Hippocrates? Who knows? Anyway, this symbol is associated with astrology and with medicine and healing, and it's been suggested that the origin of this comes from the guinea worm. Do you guys know what the guinea worm is?
I think you showed me a picture of one right before we started the podcast.
It's true.
And I believe our both Joe and I, our spontaneous reaction was, ew.
So the guinea worm is a worm, and it lives in your muscle tissue. And sometimes it'll poke its head out for whatever reason, the way parasites like to do. But you can't just grab it and pull it out because you'll
tear the head off.
You'll tear the head off, and it'll just continue on and growing in there and whatever.
Or it will die and rot inside your body and create an infection.
Maybe, could be.
Because I know some of them do that.
Yeah. So anyway, the only way to get this thing safely out is to slowly wind it around a stick.
Gotcha.
So that's where this symbol comes into.
Gotcha. And you wind it faster than it grows, so eventually you pull it right out.
Yes. You don't pull, I don't know how long you take to wind it out, but you can't just yank it out. You have to slowly you tease it out.
Now, speaking of yanking out, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead on
of your muscle tissue.
I remember, and I don't know if this is apocryphal or not, but I remembered hearing this story about might have been Civil War times or something. They would have camps of soldiers sleeping all in their tents with their things open, and they would have to have a guy who would wander around the camp at night while the soldiers were sleeping and watch out for tapeworms coming up to breathe out of their mouths. And then if they saw one, they would grab it and yank it out.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know if this is true or not. I remember this from when I was young.
I haven't read that in the official book, but as I said, I'm only halfway through.
This sounds like a Civil War urban myth.
It could be. I really wish I had come prepared.
Maybe it was the tongue parasite.
That's right.
And that's what was coming up out of their mouth, and they simply mistook it for a tapeworm. Anybody ever seen that Spike TV show, 1,000 Ways to Die?
No, but I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah,
they
sounds like a list of CausticSoda podcast episodes.
I know, an endless litany of ideas for episodes. They had one episode where they talked about this. They changed the names of their actual real stories about people, horrible ways, unique ways in which they've perished. This one woman decided that she was going to lose weight by eating a tapeworm.
Right.
And letting the tapeworm do all the fattening for her. And evidently, after she did it for a couple of weeks, it worked so well that she decided not to take the medicine that would flush the tapeworm out. What she didn't realize was that tapeworms reproduce asexually, and she eventually died of malnutrition. When they opened her up, they found 84 tapeworms in her abdomen.
Nice.
Wow.
And that's why that's how she perished.
That's why I'm fat. Fear of tapeworms.
You've got parasitophobia, my friend.
That's right.
That's recently in the news. Some Hong Kong websites have been basically selling the Ascaris worm. This is a 15-inch, actually, not 15-foot, 15-inch long worm that lays 200,000 eggs a day, and basically is the same function. So naturally, the health services are coming out with statements saying, "Don't do this."
So this worm is kind of like a tapeworm, or it's exactly like a tapeworm.
It goes into its host intestines and feeds on the. Basically eats half of your food or whatever, right?
200,000 eggs a day?
Yeah.
This is like the parasitic octomom.
Mom. So we advise you not to.
Can I get a done?
That was a good one. Hey, I like that one.
I don't get it.
You don't know who the octomom is?
No.
Oh, she's this welfare mom in the States who decided to have fertility treatments.
Yes,
and she gave birth to 8
know
kids.
About Octomom. I didn't know that was her name.
And she used welfare. That's her tabloid name.
This is different than Kate and 8 Plus.
Yeah,
that's right. She's different. She's trying to get her own reality series, and she used a bunch of welfare money for plastic surgery as well.
Yeah, she wants to look like Angelina Jolie.
Yes.
Nice.
She's a parasite of a whole different variety.
She is what's wrong with America.
Yeah.
She's a parasite on society.
That's right, exactly.
Tying it back in with our last shark episode, just to give you an idea of how specialized these parasites can be, there is a parasite that only lives in the eye of the Greenland shark. which is a kind of one of the rare sharks that lives up in.
I was about to say, I've never heard of the Greenland shark.
Yeah.
So a rare parasite who lives only in a rare shark.
Yeah, exactly. In a rare spot. Well, not really rare. Every shark has one, but
Right.
But it's pretty specific.
How does it get from, say, one shark to another shark?
Don't know the answer to that, Joe.
Okay.
But you know what I can tell you is the life cycle of the liver fluke. I have a handy chart here.
Oh, is this related
I was
to the
just gonna
Greenland
ask you
shark?
about that.
Is this related to the Greenland shark, or are you spinning off on a tangent?
I'm spinning off. I don't really have any more information about
Well,
the Greenland shark.
Did
Parasite.
we just play a game of Let's Stump Toren, and you totally stumped him?
I
With probably one of
did,
the
but I
simplest
was going to
questions
say,
you
well,
could
if you
come up
don't know about this Greenland shark thing, please tell me about the liver fluke. I was about to.
Oh, okay.
So I think Toren is being a little psychic today.
with. It's a natural segue from the Greenland shark to the liver fluke.
Well, it's a complicated life cycle. Now, the liver fluke is a very tiny fluke. We talked about parasites that live in ants' bodies, ants themselves being very small.
Right.
Liver fluke larvae themselves is also very, very, very small. So imagine an ant. It's been infected with a liver fluke. We'll tell you how that happens.
Wait, an ant is infected.
An ant is infected
with a liver fluke.
liver fluke. We'll find
Okay.
out why it's called a liver fluke in a second.
Okay,
All right.
because ants don't have livers, right?
Do they?
I don't know.
Probably not.
I'm asking you.
The ant, these are one of the few parasites that are very interesting because they change the behavior of the animal that they infect. And I have a few examples of this, which we can get into if we want to. So this parasite basically infects the brain of the ant and causes it at dusk to climb up to a very high place, like the top of a flower or something like that. These flowers, or even the top of grass, are eaten by passing mammals. Could be a bunny, could
Right.
be a cow,
Right?
and that's how the cow eats
The ant.
Eats the grass with the
eats
ant
the
on
grass
it.
with
Yeah.
the ant on it. So the
So
liver.
we're talking mind control.
Yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
now the liver fluke leaves the consumed ant and produces eggs inside the mammal.
The mammal that
Yeah.
ate the ant.
Yeah,
So it actually doesn't really live off the ant. It lives off of the animal that eats the ant. That it mind control. You are blowing.
It
my
gets more
mind.
complicated than that. So the liver fluke lays eggs inside the mammal, inside the mammal's poo. The mammal poos the way that they do.
Defecates.
Yeah.
If you will.
What eats what feeds on the mammal poo?
I'm going with
Flies?
dung beetle.
Snails.
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 Snails eat the eggs.
Was that the trivia section? We just had the trivia section right there.
Maybe it was.
Wow, that was quick. That was fleeting.
He stumped us.
So the snails eat the poo that have the eggs in them. The eggs hatch inside of the snail. The snail doesn't like this. It releases the eggs in kind of like regurgitated slime balls that it leaves along its trail. Guess what eats the slime trail?
The
Ants. Ants love snail slime.
And then they get the liver fluke.
It's like an ice cream stand.
And then
to
they get
these
infected
guys.
with the liver fluke.
And then they get infected with the liver fluke, which repeats the cycle with the brain control.
Wow, this liver fluke is like there's got to be 6 degrees of liver fluke. This is
Don't eat those ants or snails.
wow. I had no idea that there was that much thought into a parasitic life cycle.
It's pretty crazy. I can recommend you read the book.
Wow, that one has actually taken me by surprise. I didn't think I was going to learn anything really quite so off the wall today. My initial reaction was I was going to be really impressed by the liver fluke, but now that I'm thinking about it, I actually he just like is on an endless loop, right? I don't respect this parasite at all. I like the parasites that infect a host and like liquefy their intestines or something. Like have do something nasty to the person that they're or the person or creature
he
that
did
they've
mind control.
inhabited.
He did mind control the ant to get eaten
mind
by
control.
a cow.
Yeah.
Like that's even better.
How can I rail against
Why do
mind
it yourself
control?
when you can have a cow do your dirty business for
But
you?
you know what I'm saying? Liver fluke seems to be every step of the way is simply to get to the next step of the process to rinse and repeat.
Well, it's reproducing with its eggs, right?
That's
right.
That's what we do as
that's all
humans.
animals do.
That's all I do is try to get to the
Are you
next
disgusted
step.
with?
I just think there's a more direct
reproduction?
method. I think the liver fluke is he's just needlessly complicating things. Like, why don't he just grow wings and fly like into a cow's ear or something like this?
Ask the liver fluke.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm torn on the liver
On the
fluke.
next episode, our guest will be a liver fluke.
I've yet to decide whether or not I approve of the liver fluke. and his methods.
Well, I would like to say that I love the liver fluke. I plan on having lots of them. Pardon me, I need to climb up somewhere high.
Just
When you were a little girl, you were stung by a wasp, and the skin on your arm puffed up and went red. Yet you so loved that wasp and all of his brothers that you brought the whole damn angry hive right into your bed. As a child, you were riddled with ringworm, so your father cut them out of your skin. Then you felt so alone and remorseful. You dragged his little worm down and put them back in. Have you ever tried to neck with an earwig? Over your body is a bone to your friends. You've a tip for each nipple and a leech for each finger, and a parasitic love that never ends. Do you have any love left for me? I'm small, that's a start. Eat me up with your love, burn your way to my heart. Do you have any love left for me? I'm small, that's a start. Eat me up with your love, please, burn your way to my heart.
I don't mind a parasite. I object to a cut-rate one.
Welcome back to Caustic Soda, the podcast. We're going to talk about some pop culture parasites. But first, I just want to point out a couple of links for you people who are interested in parasites on the internet. There's a list of human parasites on Wikipedia. There's a new blog called Parasite of the Day, and I'll read a very short snippet. Why Parasite of the Day? The United Nations has declared 2010 the International Year of Biodiversity, in celebration of the enormous diversity of parasites, and to highlight their importance, we have created this blog, which will showcase a species of parasite every day.
that sounds like a parasite lover.
Who wouldn't be? Ugh.
I guess there's a lover of everything out there in the world, isn't there? Why would parasites be any different?
I love parasites myself. Why would I buy the book and read halfway through it if I didn't?
Well, that sounds like somebody who's never had a parasite.
I actually had ringworm when I was a child.
Oh, well.
Lots of fungus.
Wow. Yeah. So that's where
Burrow Your Way to My Heart.
Burrow Your Way to My Heart.
Which we just listened to.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know it was semi-autobiographical.
Yeah, it is, actually.
As a child, you were riddled with ringworm.
Yeah.
Did your father cut them out?
No, he didn't cut them out of my skin. And I would also refer anyone to the series, the BBC series Planet Earth, because it's got an awesome segment on another ant parasite, a fungal parasite, and Life in the Undergrowth, an excellent series on creepy crawlies.
Nice.
All both narrated by my hero, Sir David Attenborough.
Sir David Attenborough.
So what do we got for pop culture, guys?
Well, for parasites, we've got Wrath of Khan, of course.
Oh, yes.
The
last indigenous life form of Ceti Alpha 5.
That's right.
I think science fiction, for some reason, has really taken the parasite to heart.
They put things in our ears, made us do things. The captain, he was strong.
That is the most hauntingly accurate Chekhov I have ever heard.
Chekhov always gets something bad happen to him in every movie. So, Wrath of Khan, yeah, they got the little ear worm that goes inside the brain.
Yeah.
Presumably eats it or feeds on fluids of blood or whatever.
Makes them highly
They
suggestible.
didn't really go into they didn't go into the scientific details.
And thank
about,
goodness.
It was
when all they need to do is tell us, you put it in your ear, it makes you highly suggestible, and you do what people want. If they start explaining it, then you start going, wait a minute.
in the new Star Trek, they had the creature look almost exactly the
That's
same,
right.
and it went in through the mouth, and I thought that was cheap.
Yeah, I agree.
although now with the real life example of the liver fluke mind controlling ants,
Yeah.
maybe doesn't seem so science fiction-y anymore.
Dun, dun, dun. Superman's villain, the Parasite?
Not really a parasite.
No, but he's named the Parasite.
He is named the Parasite.
All right, that's true.
What was that series from '93, Bloodlines?
I was recalling a DC series that spanned across a couple of annuals one year.
It was
back
one of those,
in the early 90s.
They do those
Crossovers.
They do crossovers every year now, don't they?
Yeah, they're doing Blackest Night right now.
Right.
Yeah, and this was one of the early examples of that. I don't recall it being that memorable, so it probably wasn't very good.
From what I saw, it was actually pretty terrible, but go ahead.
And I think it was called Bloodlines. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
I remember it being a bloodline. There was some sort of alien creature that were stealing people's spinal fluid. Do you
remember what they look like? No.
No, not at all. There were a bunch of spin-off series that came out of it.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like there were people who had been attacked by these aliens, and it had some sort of like effect and created all these superheroes, and people were in these.
Did they have their own comic books, or were they just in the?
Yeah,
universe?
yeah. Like I think there was 5 or 6. Like it was almost like their own little universe. It was like a DC new universe.
And they were so popular that many movies.
Yeah, I don't think anybody that
based on those.
I don't think anybody that we would actually remember came out of that. But there was an entirely Parasite inspired
comic book series, crossover action going on.
I wish I could be more. I wish I could tell you more about it. But
no,
again,
we gotta move on.
Not that memorable.
Yeah. Let's go back to movies. Unless anyone else has.
Well, I think there's one obvious one. Alien.
Again,
Yes.
sci-fi.
The chestburster.
The chestburster, the facehuggers, which implant the eggs. This is very similar to.
So here's the question: which is the parasite, the facehugger or the chestburster?
The chest. Well,
yeah,
it's a life cycle of all one organism.
No, because
right?
the
the
facehugger actually dies. The facehugger doesn't survive off the human host at all.
Right, but it's part of the genetic sequence.
Yeah. So right. It's like the fluke, the liver fluke, and it's different.
No, the facehugger. The facehugger is the parasite delivery system.
Right. The egg, which comes from the facehugger, develops the alien, the traditional alien that we remember. The what's the artist?
The alien
Geiger.
H.R. Giger. Bursts out of the chest, grows up, and then one of those is a queen, lays the eggs with the facehugger, and then repeat the cycle. And these were actually inspired by the ichneumon wasp, I believe it is, which is an actual wasp that lays an egg that it flies around searching for a caterpillar, sticks its ovipositor into the caterpillar's body, and lays an egg in there, and then wait. I'm getting very excited.
But for the listener, you just missed Toren with his visual aid, his ovipositor visual aid, and I'm glad. It's at times like this I'm glad we're not on camera. And then disturbing.
It usually will take it stings the caterpillar as well, so it's paralyzed.
Right.
Still alive, but paralyzed. It digs a burrow, puts the caterpillar inside the burrow. Actually fills it up with like 2 or 3 different caterpillars, so it's got a bunch of eggs in there, covers it up, and then the eggs develop and eat through the living caterpillar.
I saw this like on one of those National Geographic shows or something like that. There's a wasp, but this was different. There was a wasp. They went after strictly tarantulas.
Right.
And they were massive wasps, like the biggest wasp in the world or something like that. And they would sting a tarantula, which would permanently paralyze it, and then lay a whole string of eggs in it. And
I think they would lay the eggs on the spider, I think, rather than inside.
Yeah, and they had one of those time-lapse cameras, and they showed these like larvae consuming the live tarantula. And the tarantula was still living as it was being consumed.
And getting back to Alien, it seems that the normal life cycle of the alien creature probably involves their form of paralysis, which is sticking you up in that wall and covering you with the hardening slime. Remember when they would go in and they found all the people in Aliens and kill me?
Yeah, because I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think that the alien has the tail is like a stinger kind of a thing.
It wraps around the throat.
Well, no, that's the facehugger.
The facehugger, yeah.
But the alien itself has that really sharp tail.
Yes.
I think I remember seeing some cutscenes from the original.
Is there a scientist that studies parasites? Is there a parasitologist?
There are lots of parasitologists, in fact.
Really?
Oh, yes.
Really? Perhaps Giger was a parasitologist.
No, he was an artist, but...
that was... the other guy came up with
he was merely a parasite.
Dan O'Bannon was the writer, and he had nightmares he'd heard about this ichneumon wasp, whatever, and
so was he a parasitologist?
No, he was just a guy who didn't like parasites. He had parasitophobia, as we
he had nightmares after learning about the wasp, and so he thought, well, if this is scary to me, this should be scary to other people.
So there's no parasitologist link at all in the alien circle of.
They might have consulted an expert. I don't know. It seems Alien is probably the most true to life parasite.
Although I got to go back to the Wrath of Khan again and the mind-controlling ant creature.
Yeah.
That,
And there are lots of different parasites that control their host's mind in various ways.
Right.
And the other thing about that, which I didn't mention, is that it can flick on and off the mind control. So if no cows or whatever eat the ants off the flower, it goes back down and continues its
Goes about its day.
daily work.
Wow.
So what about The Faculty, 1998?
Oh, yes, The Faculty.
Ah, shot in Vancouver.
Is that right?
Was it really?
Absolutely. Shot in Vancouver in the late 90s.
So let me get this straight. There's a school and the staff has been infected with parasites?
Right.
Or
so the staff
everyone?
and faculty, yeah. Mostly the staff and faculty.
Hence the name.
Right, the faculty. But then what they do, the alien gets in through the ear, apparently. Mm-hmm. So the school principal, if I remember correctly, orders all the kids to go to the nurse for ear examinations. I just did air quotes.
Yeah.
And
air quotes and ovipositor injections.
That's right.
I feel a little bit left
The ear
out.
wasn't quotation, but the examination was.
That's right. To the school nurse, Salma Hayek, who then who then infects all the students except for the plucky young rebels who do drugs that turn out to be able to dry out the aliens or something ridiculous.
I caught a piece of that movie again just a while ago, 6 months or so ago. It's one of those movies that you don't realize it at the time, you see it when it's brand new.
Yeah.
But even the smallest of bit players has gone on to become quite famous.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, Josh Hartnett's one of the main characters. He's doing well for himself.
Josh Hartnett, is the male lead.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking more along the lines of, does anybody realize that Danny Masterson from that 70s show fame had a one-line part in The Faculty.
So The Faculty was before that 70s show. This is what you're saying to me.
Yeah, The Faculty was late 90s or something like that. It was quite some time ago.
Sure.
Oh, that's fine.
It also features Jon Stewart as the science teacher.
Oh, that's right.
Absolutely.
From The Daily Show.
And he gets a pen through his eye or something.
Oh, it's too gruesome.
Chock full of cameos.
Yeah.
Which at the time were not considered cameos. They were just nobodies who needed the money.
Right.
Yeah.
That's an important difference between cameo and nobody who needs the money.
Just like...
Because a cameo was already famous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're established actors.
Like Lou Ferrigno in the latest Hulk movie.
Right. Or Stan Lee in all of the Marvel movies.
Absolutely.
That's
right.
Absolutely.
He's got a funny little video He's got a funny video up on Funny or Die asking the Oscar Academy to create an award for Best Cameo. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, well, I think you already have to be famous to be a cameo. Otherwise, you're just a bit player.
You're just some guy.
Will it work retroactively? Like, for example, will Toren become famous and we'll call his part in X-Men 3?
X-Men 3 I was in for
as a
quarter of a
cameo?
second.
That's right.
And then my series of cameos in that Stargate episode.
That's right.
An entire
Well,
series of
if I
cameos.
recall, in that one, you were hired for your death scream, and then when the actual episode aired, they cut it completely and your lifeless body fell to the floor.
I was actually hired for my hilarious delivery of a certain line that was also cut out.
What was the line?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Was there a parasite in that episode in any way, shape, or
you
form?
had mentioned that vampires were a kind of a parasite, and they have space vampires, and that's how my character died, as a matter of fact.
That's right.
They sucked the life out of me, and
so-
I became like a husk.
A husk, a space vampire.
Yeah.
Made a husk out of you. I think you can consider a vampire to be a form of parasite. I mean, they live off of the
Sort
life
of.
juice of...
You could have a parasitic relationship. They don't necessarily have to kill their victims.
Yeah.
Although
well,
it does say that they live on or in the host, and the vampire tends to be...
Well, it's a very small vampire.
well, if you go to those...
Dwarf
You don't
vampires.
like the old...
Little-known albino dwarf vampires.
The littlest vampire.
Or like the Scooby-Doo style vampire that can bite you when it's still in bat form. Right?
Oh, yeah,
You know?
Yeah. I don't think the aliens from Stargate have a bat form, but I don't actually watch the series, so...
So they were vampiric in the way that they drain people of their blood.
Yeah, they actually had
husks.
vaginas on their... Well, they were mouths, but they looked like vaginas. They had vagina hands, is what the crew called them.
The crew actually called them vagina
they
hands
called
in
them
the
vaginas.
episode.
The little prosthetic mouths that they put on the actor's hands, and then you stick it on their
wait. So hold on a
victim's
second.
chest,
So-
and then all the body life would drain out of the...
The vagina hands was the film crew.
Yeah.
Is what the film crew called them. Not the crew on the show. Like not the
No, not the crew of the
not
not the crew of the
crew
ship.
crew of the
Stargate or whatever,
Starship
yeah.
Enterprise or wherever they were. They didn't say, hey, did you see that alien with his vagina hands? Like that wasn't
They didn't use
actually
that
recorded
terminology
dialogue.
in the mythology.
No,
did
that
we?
would be
was-
Red Dwarf would be the one to do something.
It
like
was more like the director when he posited the whole "bring on the actor with the vagina hands."
That's right.
Exactly. You got it. It's like you were there.
It needed some clarification. I'm just saying. I had a friend of mine who had a parasite in
Tapeworm?
No, I can't remember the name of the bug, and
Blood fluke.
I've
Ichneumon wasp.
She was in Guyana, in Central America. And she was
that's
working.
your first mistake.
She was working for an organization that sent doctors out into these remote villages
Right.
in the jungle.
Right.
And they were
Bibles or no Bibles?
no Bibles.
Thank
No
you.
Oh, that's
Bibles.
good.
They were dealing with cataracts because none of them own sunglasses, and they're right near the equator.
Right.
And so they're all all the villagers have cataracts.
They're all
of
looking
them.
directly at the sun all the time.
Universally suffer from cataracts.
Yeah.
And so these doctors go around and just do these simple cataract operations.
Sure.
And give people their eyesight back for all intents and purposes.
It's very unfortunate for them because they live in a forest full of mirror trees. So they try to look away from the sun and they just can't. It's being beamed right into their eyes.
Did they leave some sunglasses with them when they left? Is my question.
Probably those giant like blue blocker ones too, right? So nothing can even hit the side. But they very common to suffer from cataracts, and so this was their sole mission was to go down there and perform simple cataract surgeries. And they would go into a village and they would stay there for a couple of days and operate on but very tiny villages with very few villagers.
Mm-hmm.
And she picked up one of these bugs that while you're sleeping lays an egg in you somewhere.
Yeah. In your man flesh.
Absolutely, and what it goes in as a larva, and it just like eats your flesh,
Right.
and then it grows from a larva into pupa, and then when it's fully grown,
Yeah.
it will burst from your flesh and
Yeah.
fly away.
Yeah,
It has
yeah.
wings.
'Cause it's
it will fly off into the distance.
Oh, I've seen pictures of that.
But when fully grown, this thing is like the size of your thumb.
Yeah.
It's enormous.
Sweet.
So you don't want it to burst out of your skin because it leaves
Not when it's that big.
these giant scarified wounds, right, that need constant attention. And all these villagers have all had a handful of them, so they all got scars all over their
all
bodies,
know,
right?
yeah.
And they all know. So what you have to do when
They've
you
got
get
them
one
as
of
pets.
these...
They all have names.
I call this one Pepe.
And so she kind of had this sore on her leg, and they're like, "Oh, it's the bug, whatever bug it was."
Yeah.
So what they have to do is they pack it with this hard packed clay,
Yeah.
which actually, because it has like a little proboscis
Oh,
that comes out that breathes through, so that
Right.
suffocates it and it dies, and so it's no longer.
Now you got a dead parasite.
You got a
in your
dead
flesh.
parasite in your flesh,
You have to dig out
because
instead of
you
it flying
can't
out.
you can't get it out when it's alive. Because it's holding on for dear life.
Oh,
It's got
those
its like little
tenacious
claws
little
in your
wasps.
skin. When it dies, then you can get it out.
Sure.
And how they do that?
They suck it out with a straw.
No, they pop it like a pimple.
Nice.
They pop it like a pimple, so she tells this incredibly graphic story of lying on a table and having this tiny little Guyanese man who is
Gargantuan?
sort of like the local witch doctor
Guy?
and he is just
Guy.
working this giant insect that's burrowed into her leg,
Massaging it out of her flesh.
massaging it. But she has given birth, and she said that this was the most painful thing that she has ever had to endure. Is this dude digging into her flesh and muscle tissue to try and pop this thing loose? And she said when it came, it flew 10 to 15 feet through the air.
Oh, sweet.
And they, she was left with the dead creature for a little while, and it was the size of her pinky finger.
Nice.
That's how she described it. So not quite fully grown. And I don't know what the name of the creature is, but I'm pretty sure from that description I do not want to get one.
We live in a terrible, terrible world.
It's true.
I guess that's
Beautiful.
true. I mean,
It's beautiful terror.
Beautiful, terrible world.
we live in Vancouver where the worst parasite we seem to have is bed bugs. I think that's the conclusion we've come to.
Yeah, I think that was
worst
it.
parasite that we can really get is a bed bug, which although tenacious.
Of course, somebody will probably tell us we're wrong in email.
Feel free to email us and tell us that we're
Love
wrong.
to hear.
What's,
Caustic soda.
what is the worst parasite that you've ever encountered? Well, in your hometown,
In your
it be
entire
that Vancouver or elsewhere. Thank you very much.
I'm Toren Atkinson.
I'm Kevin Leeson.
I'm Joe Fulgham.
Rest assured that I was on the internet within minutes, registering my disgust throughout the world.